Hello, everybody. Good morning. Happy Sunday morning / evening, or wherever you're at. Let's see. Hi, Kathleen and Unifer and Astoria Girl. Okay, so today I haven't streamed in a while. I had to take a little bit of a break. I am selling my house. I'm still selling my house. It's not sold by any means. But I wanted to get back on and start streaming every Sunday again because, well, I miss it. It's kind of weird how you get like so used to streaming, and then when you stop streaming, you're like, huh, where did that go? So I thought an easy way to kind of ease back into streaming, and one of my favorite things to do while live streaming is, well, swatch, because, well, we all need to swatch things, right? So why not swatch in good company? Plus, then you guys can see how these perform. And then, as always, when I'm reviewing pencils, because these are getting reviewed, how I work it is I just take footage from me swatching and then I repurpose it into my full review video, but you'll get to see them swatched live too. So today we are working on the Brutfuner 120 pencils. Let's just get the plastic off. Ugh, maybe. I just got my nails done and I really don't want to break them. All right. So I originally was not going to review these, but I am trying to find a few more budget-friendly sets to add to my collection so that when I do my top 3 or top 5 budget watercolor pencils, I can give you guys like an honest opinion. Now, I did just release my review on the Arctics ones. Sorry, Arctics, but those are like the worst pencil I've ever endured in my life. I posted that review, I think, on Thursday. Oh, God, those were hideous. Horrible. Worst pencil ever. And I have tested like almost 4 dozen watercolor pencils. So for me to say that was the worst, like that was the legit worst. So these couldn't possibly be worse, but I might be judging myself. So this is the 120 set. They do come in a 72 count set. However, the 72 count set is like harder to get than the 120. So it looks like they have a nice little paper sleeve and then, ooh, a little handle. Always nice. I don't want to like break this off, but at the same time, I'm lazy. Let's see. Is there a way to pop this off here? Oh, it's right here. Okay. Let me just get this cut off real quick. Try to preserve it as best I can. So yeah, I thought we would kind of go over, swatch them, see how they turn out. Now, Brutfuner is an interesting brand. All right, once you get that paper sleeve off, they have like this nice little plastic case. Actually, this is pretty nice. But like, I kind of like how they're just in trays inside of here. So you don't have to like get a separate storage case if you don't want to. So I kind of like that. So you got this set and they're not good. Is that what you're saying? Because this is the biggest set they have of 120 watercolor pencils. Now, I own the 520 Brutfuner pencils, which are... Let me explain Brutfuner, okay? Because these are one of those brands that do have white labeling, okay? So you've got the, okay, so the 520 aren't watercolor pencils. Those are colored pencils. I'm actually surprised you think they're not good. The 520 Brutfuners were actually not bad. Do you need the 520 though? No, but they're actually a decent pencil. I gave them to my kids just because I had no use for them. And in fact, I swatched those on a live stream, and I'm pretty sure I lost my mind that week. But you'll notice there's 2 types of Brutfuner pencils out there. Well, technically 3. So you have the round barrel, which is black with a color dipped end. Those are a white label pencil. So they're kind of comparable with a few other brands. And I'm going to do a whole video on white label, so I don't want to spend too much time on that. Then you've got these ones here. These are similar to their 520 set. So it's not a dipped end. It's not a black barrel. It's just a color barrel. So then they have a number at least, so you can differentiate them. Thank goodness for that. So there's these kind. And then you have the Brutfuner squares, which are a totally different game. I love the Brutfuner squares. You can get them on Temu, but you can't really get them on Amazon anymore, which is tragic because those were great. But I do have the 520 pencils using this formula, and I actually liked them. I just didn't recommend them as a thing like you need to buy unless you have no pencils, because it was, 520. If I was to pick between the Brutfuner 520 and the Korilynn 520, I would actually go with the Brutfuner. So there you go on that one. So I was very interested to try the watercolor pencils and see how they are. So packaging wise, oh, it comes with a little sharpener. Look at that little sharpener hanging out in there. It's just a cheapy brand, but actually the blade's not too bad. So yeah, they're just all here in this case. So we're going to slide them out of this little plastic sleeve. And we'll try to keep them in order. Not that the numbers are in order per se, but these are really nice and nestled in here too. So that's a good sign. Like the way they're in there, that means they didn't just jostle around while they were shipping. Always appreciate that. And these are freaky cheap. It was like 20 something. I did put a link in the description below. There will be a link from Nightbot as well. Also, I did create a little 120 count swatch chart. It is free. It's linked in the description below, and it's also linked from Nightbot. You can go onto my Ko-fi shop and grab it if you want. I may go back and fill in the numbers and put them in color family order later, but this is just a blank little chart. It's free. You can donate extra if you want to. You don't have to, though, by any means. But it's just something I put out there for you guys because I know you guys like to have swatch charts, and I like swatch charts, so I thought, why not? But I had to reprint it on my better paper. So I've got my paper, we've got our pencils, and basically how I'm going to do this is I think I'll like swatch a row, activate it, swatch a row, activate it. That way, depending on how far we get in today's stream, you'll get to see some of these activated. And then the rest I will work on when I do my review. Hi, Stephanie and Kim and anyone I might have missed. And then, yeah, I am giving away a set of the 120 Brutfuners here. So we'll do that a little bit later. You do need to be in the stream at the time. Nightbot will be kind enough to let you know when to enter. I don't want to zoom in too much. But yeah, I thought it would be fun to just kind of swatch and hang out and chill. I know it looks like my boxes got cut off. When you print the one that's on my Ko-fi, this won't happen. It's just I'm low on ink or toner. And my toner decided to like take the tops off some of my boxes. I found it kind of funny. I really need to replace my toner. I think what I'm going to do though, with the order they have these in, they do have them in rainbow order. So I'm just going to start with the reds at the top and we'll go from there. Yeah, so here's the deal. If you get 520 pencils, or even, to be honest, anything over 300, you are going to have overlap. It's impossible to not have overlap. So please keep that in mind. When I did my review of their 520, I showed you how many were so close, but it was kind of nice because if you ran out of one, you had like 3 others so close, you could totally use them and no one would know. But I am very, very curious to see how these work because I'm trying to add more to the budget options for watercolor pencils. And well, Arctics was a flop. So we're hoping these will work out well. I guess we'll see. Hi, everyone coming in. But like I said, I will be giving away a set of these as well. So you'll just want to stay tuned. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to sharpen them because, well, I'm lazy. So I am just going to, this is how, if you get this chart off my Ko-fi, just this is how you're going to use it. Fill in this box here, go out of the lines, it's watercolor pencil. Oh, these are actually really smooth when dry. Oh, I'm kind of curious now how they'll be when they're activated. They're actually nice and smooth. So when you fill out the chart, basically this little box is for your dry application. And then this little box is your wet application. So I just like to take it a little bit past the line there, like halfway, because I do want to drag it. So I do need it a little bit concentrated here though, just so I get a good color or pigment payout. So yeah, that's how you use this chart, or my chart specifically. So this is going to stay dry here, and then this will be the wet, because I like to test watercolor pencils and see how they look wet and dry, because it's kind of like with Albrecht Dürer and all those brands, a lot of them work well dry as well. So you kind of want to know, what you're getting into. So I'm just going to color in this box. Some of these I may have to sharpen, but then yeah, just kind of go halfway through. And I'm not pushing hard, because you should not push hard with watercolor pencils, just because if you get it into the tooth of the paper, it's not going to dissolve. So keep that in mind. Only reason I really don't want to sharpen in your guys' ear is because my sharpener is right next to my mic. And I really don't want to sit there and mute every time. I do like these plastic trays they came in, though. They're really snug. There's no way these got jostled around while shipping, because they're in there nice and tight. Like better than if you bought their 520, they have those trays and they're nestled in there pretty good, but yeah, they're nestled in here really well too. Now, how far we'll get, who knows? I haven't streamed in a while, and it's almost like a muscle that you have to kind of work out. Reading chat, remembering that you're not just swatching here all by yourself. You gotta keep checking chat. So gotta get used to that again. All right. There are quite a few reds, but I'm curious to see how these will look, because none of them are the same. So it'll be interesting to see how they look when they are activated. But these are actually really smooth. And after using those Arctics, like I said, I did that review on Arctics. I sent Arctics a message because I do a lot of stuff with Arctics. They send me a lot of free products. They didn't send me those watercolor pencils for free. And I'm thinking there's probably a reason why. But I did just review those, but I emailed them letting them know. I was like, I don't know if this is a major defect, manufacturing defect. I hope not. But I told them all the issues. I even sent them, because for fun, I made an ASMR video of just them scratching against the paper. And I sent it to them, and I was like, this is how these sound. This is horrible. And that's why it took me so long to do that review. I was constantly cringing while just trying to swatch those stupid pencils. It's I shouldn't live this way. All right, 001. But these are actually smooth while dry, which is one thing I always use when I do my test worksheet for reviews, which I didn't bother using the test worksheet with the Arctics, but the Arctics, like I said, was such crap that I didn't even get to that. But these are nice and smooth. So I'm really, really hoping they dissolve well and look well. But using them dry is an option, because they're actually nice. I mean, if I didn't have, so the reason, obviously I get all these budget pencils because I'm testing them for you guys so I can give you my top whatever list of budget watercolor pencils. Obviously, Albrechter is still my favorite. Let me move this off to the side. Always will be. I have yet to find one to surpass Albrechter. And then, you know, I have a few other favorites, but it's fun to try out some of these budget ones and just kind of see what they have to offer. All right, like I said, I'll do a row, dry, and then activate it. So I'm using cardstock, and the reason I'm using cardstock is because most of us who watch my channel are doing watercolor pencils for adult coloring. Ooh, those dissolve really nice. Sorry, cheap thrills. They like actually dissolve. So I'm coming off of a really bad pencil review, so I'm getting excited because I'm like, look, they dissolve. Anyway, I'm using cardstock because I'm going off of the paper that we will typically encounter in adult coloring, you know, because a lot of us watching my channel, or at least this channel, if you're watching my watercolor channel, that'd be different, but this is my adult coloring channel, right? So you guys are going to be using these on paper like this. So you should always swatch on the paper that you're going to use for coloring, because that's really the only way you can test a color out and know how it's going to look. So I am using my typical Nina cardstock. It's linked in the description below. You just need to scroll down to my favorite papers section and you'll see it there. But I always use what I color with, and I highly recommend that. Now, like I said, if this was my watercolor channel, these would be on watercolor paper. And then, of course, when I do my test sheet, I do test these out on watercolor paper too. But yeah, for swatching purposes, cardstock. Just like if you typically only use Create Space paper books, then you should really swatch all of your colors on printer paper, to be honest, if you want to know how your pencils are going to perform. But so far, these are dissolving. That top row dissolved very nicely. Very nice and smooth. So I'm already very excited. Now remember, when you put in the entry, you need to have the exclamation mark. It needs to say Brutes with an exclamation mark, just like it says, or just like Nightbot says, or at least Nightbot should have said. Yeah, there's an exclamation mark. The reason I did that was just in case someone accidentally wrote Brutes, because a lot of us refer to this brand as Brutes. And because it's not case sensitive, I wanted to make sure I put something in there to differentiate. So if you're going to enter to win a set of 120, type BRUTS and then an exclamation mark. The caps don't matter. I just put that there so it stands out. So I always, for those of you who are newer to my channel, I'm always very honest in my reviews, whether a company sends me a pencil or not. It's the first thing I warn them about. Same thing with people who send me their coloring books. I always say, hey, look, I'll gladly review this. You know, you can send it to me for free, but I am going to be honest. And it's really important that they know that, because if I don't like their product, I'm not going to just not review it because they'll, you know, they're like, oh, well, don't review it if you don't like it. Nope, I'm going to review it. So Artix is pretty cool about it, though. They did not send me those watercolor pencils for free. They've sent me a ton of acrylic stuff that I need to get on reviewing. I just am behind schedule. I had planned on swatching these about a month and a half ago is when I bought them. So as you can see, I'm really behind schedule. But I had to take a little break to get my house on the market. It's on the market, sitting there looking pretty, but it's not really moving. It's the housing market out here, as I'm sure probably in other states too, it's not great. And the price of my house is what's killing us, really. If interest rates went down, we would have a lot more action. But my agent did tell me that August is pretty slow. And so I guess they usually see it pick up in September and October. So here's hoping to that, because cross your fingers for me. I really, really want my house to sell like end of September. So if you could all put out some happy, good vibes for me for my house to sell by end of September at the latest, I would appreciate it, because I need it to sell. Lots going on. I will be doing a whip and chat on my diamond painting channel, and I'll catch y'all up on there. But yeah, and my diamond painting channel is coming back. So is my watercolor channel. I'm just getting back into the groove with everything. And as you know, it's Labor Day weekend, but I own an Etsy store. So Labor Day weekend is busy for sales. But also I have my usual, every first of the month, I release a limited edition box. That's coming out tomorrow, along with tons of sales for Labor Day and an event I'm sponsoring in the diamond painting community. So my Etsy is going to be so crazy tomorrow. Super busy tomorrow. Yeah. But I did want to get my channels back up and running. I feel incomplete without them. Yeah, I've talked to a few agents, and not just mine, even though my agent is a family friend. She's bought and sold every single house of mine. So like I trust her, but she even said like, start a school, it kind of slows down, but then it totally starts. They see a nice little pickup September, October. So I'm really, really hoping that I see that happen because I really need my house to sell. So yeah, just everyone throughout the good vibes. Or hey, move to Utah. I have a really nice house. It's my dream home. I don't want to sell it. Oops, don't want to activate the dry part. But it looks so pretty when they did the pictures, and then it made me sad because I was like, oh, buy house. But no, it'll be good. New chapter and all that. I mean, my kids just started school. So even if it sells, no matter what, I'm going to stick around here so that they don't need to change schools mid-school year. Plus, I just kind of like it around here. I don't know. But I can't look at anything because it's really hard to look for something to move into when you have zero clue of when your house is going up for sale. It's not like, and I'm going to rent. I'm not going to buy in this market. So when I was looking at rentals, house rentals, because I've got the dogs, I've got the kids, I've got the wax studio business, so I need a house. They would be like, oh, when can you, sign the lease? And I'm like, when my house sells. So, my absolute favorite watercolor pencil is Albrecht Dürer. I did a whole video on that one, talking about my favorites, but Albrecht Dürer is by far my favorite. I guess we'll go in this order for these. Yep, Albrecht Dürer, hands down, the best. I have yet to find a pencil to replace it because it is great dry and wet. The color payout is absolutely amazing. They're open stock. Really not that expensive at all. They still have great light fast readings for those of you who, need a light fast reading. I have like 0 complaints with the Albrecht Dürrs, and I've used them quite a bit. Now, if you're asking why Inktense isn't in that list, that's because Inktense are not watercolor pencils, so they don't fall in that list. They are just in a category of their own. But with fall, it is fall, which means I tend to break out my water-soluble graphite pencils. So like my Graphitint and my Staedtler ones. So I plan to do some more videos giving you guys more tutorials using all those because they're really fun. Ew, this is a neon watercolor pencil. This is not going to dissolve well. I'll tell you that right now. Neons, especially in watercolor pencil format, the pigment is just not there. Yeah, so you can get them open stock, and you don't even have to, it's not just like in the US, you can be over in the UK. They're very accessible compared to some others. My second favorite would have to be, honestly, the Derwent watercolor pencils. Those do not get enough love, and they really, really should. I love them. I think they're great. I'll never get rid of my Derwents. I do have the Museum Aquarelles, and they're great as well. They're from Carandash, but I don't recommend them unless you're doing commissioned artwork or you really just have some money to blow. They're just not made for, really, you shouldn't spend that much money on those for adult coloring is what I'm getting at. So that's just my opinion there. On those. They're great pencils, though. I would recommend them. It's just for adult coloring's sake, not so much. I did have the Supra Color 2s. I did a whole video on my top 3 artist grade ones. I sold the Supra Colors, but not because they're bad. It's just I already have the Albrecht Dürrs. I have my Derwent watercolor. I have my Museum Aquarelles, and the Supra Color just kind of were like an overlap between everything. So I sold those, but they're also a good option. But if you were to ask me between Supra Color and Albrecht Dürer, I would still go Albrecht Dürer, but that's just me. All right. But these so far are very nice. I haven't had a single scratchy one. Now, granted, with these lighter colors, you don't always get scratchies, but I would have with some of these greens, and I didn't. So hopefully this is a theme that carries over throughout the whole swatching experience, because wouldn't that be glorious? But yeah, I'll get a full review of these up this week. I do need to color a page with them. I'm going to do a video with my fall books like I do every year. My favorite fall coloring books. I already pulled everything out, so I got like a whole stack of just fall ready books. I am going to do that adult coloring supply destash. I know before I went on my little break, I had kind of talked about that, but I had just gotten a little, slammed trying to get my house ready. I literally had to get my house ready to go on the market in 7 days. That means decluttering, packing, cleaning, like everything in 7 days. So I was just doing that and working on my book and trying to keep my Etsy store afloat. So yeah, but I do want to do the destash because I actually have a lot of adult coloring supplies I need to destash. Everything from pastels to pencil sets. So I will be doing that. I might do it as a live stream to kind of show you guys everything I'm going to destash. I haven't quite decided, but keep an eye out for that. What was the other stuff? So I've got my destash video I need to work on. Yeah, these really dissolve very nicely. Like, I'm honestly impressed. Curious how this neon one will go. It just waters out. It dissolves, but it waters out. So yeah, the D-Stash one is coming back. And then, like I said, I know I owe you guys my favorite budget watercolor pencils from all these battles, but I was trying a few more brands, this being one of them, before I did that. And then I had to do Arctics, which will most definitely not be on that list. But then I'm going to have tons of watercolor pencils to de-stash, like tons. So that'll be part of the de-stash as well. When I do the de-stash, though, some sets I'll give away for free. Others will need to be paid for because some of them are going to be like, you know, my Lyras and stuff, expensive brands. They just didn't make my top 3, but also there's zero reason for me to keep them, like, because, you know, I have my favorites. Like, there's no reason to just store a pencil just for the sake of storing it. So there will be some that I'll sell, but you guys will get first dibs on those before I throw them up on eBay. So I'll get to that soon. And then I've got a lot of fall coloring plans and stuff too. So yeah, lots going on. And that's on top of like my Etsy stuff and all that. And I did just finish my 4th book, the rough draft. So it's being edited and the beta readers are all reading it right now. So I finally decided, like, I sat down with my cover designer because he's working on the cover right now. I had picked a cover and then changed my mind last minute. I'm sure he loves me. But yeah, so the cover reveal will come out soon, but I sat down and I was like, okay, it is going to come out October 1st. So my 4th book will come out October 1st. Honestly, this book should have been finished like 2 months ago. It was almost done 2 months ago. It's just a lot happened the last few weeks. So I fell behind on that. But yep, it is coming along. And like I said, if you're not subscribed to my diamond painting channel, go over there. You don't even have to enjoy diamond painting, but go over there, subscribe, because that's where I post all my whip-in chats. And I'm going to go back to posting a whip-in chat once a week there. So I just have too much content to put on this channel and it'll get lost. So if you want to keep up on like whip-in chats and just like what's behind the scenes and all that, then definitely subscribe to my diamond painting channel so that you can keep up on that. Because that's where I've kind of moved them. Yeah, these are nice and smooth still. Hi, Kelly. And I'll zoom out like after we get everything down so you guys can see the range. Like I said, this little swatch chart is in my Ko-fi. It's free. All of my charts are free. I just put like the option you can donate if you want. You don't have to because I know not everybody has money and it's a freaking swatch chart. But what I plan to do is I'll probably, because I am actually enjoying these. If I didn't enjoy these, then you would only get this blank chart. But what I'll do is I will update it after I'm done and put them in color family order and then upload a color family order edition later. And by later, I mean probably when I find free time. So yeah, but that's only because I'm enjoying using these. I don't do that with every pencil because sometimes there's a pencil I'll use and I'm like, ugh, I'm not gonna sit there and put these in color family order because I'm never gonna use these again. Lots of pinks, by the way. I'm not complaining on that. I like pinks. All right. Oh, and if you guys do shop my Etsy store, I've got Labor Day weekend sales going. So you can snag those. And then tomorrow there will be more sales. But like I said, tomorrow is going to be a really crazy launch day for my Etsy because the limited edition box comes out too, along with a special limited edition bundle I made for Drills and Chills. So that all releases tomorrow too. So it's going to be a very crazy Labor Day weekend. It's already been crazy with all the Labor Day sales. I'm not complaining. It's good. And I've been making some pens on the lathe. I just need to polish them. Oh, I'll show you guys a picture of the pens I worked on yesterday. They look rough, but that's because I haven't polished them out. I sit and turn them on the lathe, and then once all of the blanks are turned, and I still have like 20 of those, by the way, to finish turning. But once they're all turned, and then I'll sit down and like polish them all, because turning is just so messy. You've got acrylic going all over the place. Plus, I'm waiting for my polishing compound to show up because I ran out. Let me see if I can find the picture real quick and show you guys. Because I have started working on more pens. There. So I carved or did these ones. They're on my Instagram too. You can't really see the details, but I've got like the little grooves in there. And like I said, they look rough because I haven't polished them out. But they'll look really pretty once they're all buffed up. But I'm not going to sit there and buff them until I've finished turning them. I turned like 6 yesterday. It was so relaxing. I'm about to just go buy more blanks just to sit there and turn them. I didn't realize it was so cathartic. Just sitting there like, ah. The polishing part is the part that's not relaxing. I'm almost trying to convince my son to like do that for me. I just want to sit there and cut them out. Yeah, these are dissolving nicely. And they're dissolving nicely on cardstock, which, by the way, is actually impressive because if you press too hard on cardstock, oops, too much water. If you press too hard on cardstock, it'll actually leave scratch marks in the paper, so it won't dissolve, which is why I'm not using heavy pressure, but these are dissolving nicely. Look at all these pretty little pinks. To report Nightbot. Make sure if you're entering the giveaway. Oop, we're on to a new trait. What was I saying? Make sure if you're entering the giveaway, you are putting the exclamation mark in. Don't forget the exclamation mark. It's like I said, I didn't want anyone to get hit with spam or be accused of spamming. So I put the exclamation mark in there. So it doesn't have to be in caps, but you do need the exclamation mark if you want it to enter you. So if you didn't put the exclamation mark in, you can just add it now and it won't get you for spam. But the reason I did that was because a lot of us refer to these pencils as brutes. And so since it's not case sensitive with Nightbot, I didn't want someone to get spammed out just for saying brutes when they were just like talking about the pencil and not actually entering the contest. Shannon, hello, Shannon. All right, yeah, we're getting into the blues, and I was kind of sneak peeking here. It looks like we have more greens coming too, and some teals, so we'll see how these are. But again, these are all really smooth. I haven't come across a scratchy one yet. I'm like actually excited to try these on a coloring page, both wet and dry, because they're smooth dry. Very smooth, and I didn't even sharpen them because sometimes you need to sharpen these guys up, but these are coming out nice. Yes, US only. I am sorry about that. I probably should have mentioned that part earlier, but you do need to be able to receive from Amazon US. I wish I could afford to ship to other countries and shop on, all the others, but I can't. I'm on a limited budget, beyond limited. I'm on the limited of limited. So yeah, you do need to be eligible to receive it from Amazon US only. And then we'll pick a winner. But as always, with all in-stream giveaways, so if anyone's watching this on replay, you can't enter. It'll only be in stream, and you do have to be in the stream at the time then your name is pulled. So if we give you a little bit to respond, but then if you don't, we move on to the next, just to keep it fair. And then you just need to shoot me a message, because there are people that will try to pretend to be you by tomorrow. So you just need to shoot me a message the day of. This is a light color. It's like a nice little periwinkle kind of thing. Probably not going to see it on your end, but it's really pretty. Zero, 1, 0. But yeah, I just figured it would be nice to hop on and swatch with you guys, because I needed to swatch these anyways for the review. It's one of my favorite things to live stream is swatching, because swatching, like when I'm just recording it myself, can get kind of lonely and boring. There's a lot of blues. I'm not complaining about that, by the way, just noting. And I'll sharpen one or two just so we can see how they sharpen, but they're nice. They do have that squared off edge, but this is kind of how they send their pencils. These ones, at least. Just gotta make sure I get an even amount of pigment on the other side of my box. I'm actually liking these a lot, especially coming off of such a crappy pencil from Arctics. I was honestly shocked that Arctics even released those watercolor pencils. That was by far I've got a better word for it, but crappy is what I will say for YouTube to be happy. But yeah, I was baffled. I was like, I can't even believe you guys slapped your name on this. This was horrible. I think Dollar Tree had better quality ones than that. I mean, they were just, ugh. They didn't dissolve like at all. The lines they left, the scratchiness. Oh my gosh. And like I said, I've got to be close to 4 dozen watercolor pencils by now with all these ones I've tested. And I am just blown away that they released that at all. Like, yeah. I know they're really on an acrylic marker kick, and that's fine. Stick to that lane, but let's not release crappy watercolor pencils. All right, let's see how these blues look. Pretty, pretty. And I still have a few other brands to test out and swatch, and I'm getting caught up. Like I already did my top 3 artist grade. I have just one more set that I want to test out before I say my favorite budget ones. But I'm really glad I included these ones actually, because these are quite impressive. So yeah, if you don't win today, you can always go snag these because these are actually really good price. Like it's 20 something bucks for 120 of these. And they're smooth. You could definitely use these dry or wet. That's what's interesting. But these are actually, like, I am impressed. I'm impressed with how they feel dry because, you know, there's even high quality brands, but when you use them dry, you're just like, ugh. But these are nice and smooth. And they're dissolving really well. Granted, you know, the pigment could be brighter, but I mean, this is a $20 set of 120 pencils. So, you know, they got to cut costs somewhere, and pigment is the obvious choice, but it's not like crap pigment. It's still got a good amount of pigment when you dissolve them. Looks like we got some more greens too. So I have tested the Korilynn. Did I ever put up my official review for the Korilynn? Crap, can't remember. Korilynn was good. I know I've compared them to Arteza. Korilynn is good, but when it comes to using the Korilynn dry, these are way nicer dry than Korilynn. I can tell you that right now. These are way smoother while dry than the Korilynn ones. I'm like legitimately impressed how smooth these are while dry. Because I had quite a few scratchy ones with Korilynn, but these are very smooth. And if you're looking for more of an all-purpose pencil, you know, where you could put down a base of watercolor and go on top of it, then you're going to want something that performs well dry. And yeah, these are nice. But I would definitely say these are smoother than Korilynn. Now, my absolute favorite budget watercolor pencil you can't get anymore. Otherwise, they would be in the competition. But I'm glad that they discontinued before I made my list, because otherwise that would have sucked. But it was a TBC, I think, what is it? The Best Crafts or whatever, whatever that brand used to be. They were really good pencils, but yeah, they stopped making them. So I guess it's a good thing though, because otherwise they would have been in my top 3, 5, whatever, and then been irrelevant. But they had an insane color payout. I was just like blown away. Okay, 090. So we've got lots of greens in here, but I don't mind that at all. We've got a lot of yellows, which tends to be a pet peeve of mine because I'm just like, I only need one warm, one cool, and just call it a day. But that's just me. 040. And like I said, they do have a 72 count set as well. But like the price difference between the 72 count and the 120 it was like $6 or something like that. So yeah, obviously I'm just going to grab the bigger set. I think the company that was doing those went out of business because they had sent me them and what was the other brand? It was like Hippie something. They were around for just a smidgy, but they both sent me products last year, and both of them aren't in business anymore. So But also, that's why I need to do that video on white label products, because a lot of these companies that pop up are using white label products. And so they're just not going to have the same quality control. And really, it's just a company trying to break out using a white labeled product. And then, obviously, if they can't compete or they, just don't have a good marketing plan, they fizzle out. So that's why a lot of brands will like come and go. And that's why also when I'm like doing these comparisons, I try to pick brands that even if they use white label, because a lot do, at least they've stuck around long enough. So it's not like, hey, here's this brand, but they're gone tomorrow. All right. Like I said, we're doing a row and then I activate it just in case. This is like the prettiest sky bluish color ever. I would zoom in more. Maybe I can zoom in just a teensy more. I just don't want to accidentally go off screen because I am notorious for that. But I want you guys to be able to see how these are dissolving as well. Because like, see, look at that. They're dissolving perfectly, like perfectly. So I'm really impressed with how these are dissolving, actually. Just gotta remember to move it. Did I see what now? Or did I miss something, or is it for someone else? But yeah, these dissolve really well on cardstock. So I have no complaints with the way they dissolve, that's for sure. I need to just scooch those over a little. This is a really pretty color. Oh no, my thing's dry. Make sure your pen is actually wet when you go to activate. I went to get that one and I was like, oh, dry. A picture with the Arctic's watercolor pencils. I actually tried as part of my test to do that, and I wanted to scream. I like literally colored just a few leaves, and then I was like, all right, these are crap. I'm done. Yeah, I don't recommend those ones at all from Arctic's. Like I said, I did message them and said, hey guys, I don't know if you know this, but these are crap. And I don't care if that means they never send me any free stuff again. At least I was honest. But dear God, that was the worst pencil I've ever encountered. I'm not kidding. I have a set of Dollar Tree watercolor pencils that were better. Yeah, I think I tried to color the leaves because I told myself, well, I'll color these leaves and I'll color this page. And then with those Arctic's ones, I finally was like, you know what? These are so bad. I didn't even fill out the test sheet. That's how awful they were. There was just no point in wasting any more time. It would have been a waste of a tree just to print the test sheet for them. I actually ended up going back over that same page with my Prismas just to salvage it because it was one of my autumn charm pages from Teresa Goodridge. And I was like, oh, I don't want to waste a good fall page. But yeah, they were all full. Let me try sharpening one. I'm going to mute you though. Yeah, they sharpen nice and neat. So I get this question a lot. Should you sharpen pencils before you swatch them? You are going to get a ton of different answers from people depending on who you ask. And my answer will also not match everyone else either. So here's my opinion. One, I'm too lazy to bother. So there you go. But if it is a high-end pencil, say you just got a set of Albrecht Dürer, no, you do not need to sit there and sharpen those. Is there going to be some residue left on the pencil from manufacturing, regardless of whether they're a high-end or budget? Absolutely. But it's not going to make a world of difference. Now, with these super cheap ones, there's this common thing where people will say you need to sharpen them to get the residue off of them. But again, I just said that even the high-end pencils will have residue from manufacturing. You can't not have residue on there. So the only reason I sharpen budget ones usually, as opposed to where I don't bother with the higher end ones, is more so because the budget ones tend to have a funky tip to them the way they're pre-sharpened. And sometimes they're just scratchy and they need to have it smoothed out. But like with a higher end pencil, I won't. But the theory of, residue and like, because I've heard people say the residue like completely alters the performance of the pencil. No, it doesn't. Even with a super cheap budget pencil, if it has that much residue affecting the color output, then that company has bigger problems than anything else, because there's not like a coating of oil and crap all over this. So if anyone is ever wondering why I don't sit here and sharpen them, one, it's because I'm too lazy, because I think I made that mistake when I did the 520 pencils. I think I spent like the night before that stream sharpening each and every one, and dear God, that was horrible. But you don't need to. You don't need to with the high end. You really don't even need to with the budget. But you may notice with budget, sometimes you just need to sharpen to smooth out, like, because you might get, it's not necessarily residue, but you might just get like some sort of clump that's stuck to it and it makes it scratchy. Whereas a higher end one has better quality control and you won't have that. That said, I have had expensive pencils where I've had to sharpen to smooth something out. So take your pick. Bottom line, do you have to? No. Is it going to make a massive difference? No. Can you sharpen them? Sure. It's your life, your pencil, your sharpener. All right. Getting into some browns. I wonder what the last tray is. I really do like the little case these came in, though. I'm probably going to just store them in this case instead of moving them to a normal case. I'll just put them in color family order and keep them in the trays in this little plastic case because it's actually pretty nice. It's got a little handle and everything. Oh, thanks, Jessica. These don't have color names. One thing that's interesting is, so I totally forgot to show you. I'll show you when I zoom out. It did come with its own swatch chart, so I forgot to mention that. In the carrying case, there is a swatch chart it came with. I just wanted to make my own. But it does come with one. But I need to check and see if it's on watercolor paper or not, because I did not check that. Yes, don't forget the exclamation mark. Sorry, I probably should have picked something else. I did not sleep well last night, so when I was picking my entry word, I was like, Brutes, with an exclamation mark. But I now see that could possibly create some problems. I also didn't want it to be like a long sentence. I don't know. I'm just going to have to start picking like random words or have Chat GPT just pick a random word of the day, like unicorn sparkle. Got another blue hiding out in here. So if I put these in color family order, I'll definitely need to wiggle some of these around. But yeah, these dissolve really nicely. And the case, like you don't have to do uppercase like Nightbot says. It's just, I do that in Nightbot so it stands out so you can see the word. But it's not case sensitive or anything. I did try to tweak with the ad settings before I went live, but it's been a while, so I was like, oh, I hope this is right. Plus, they made some changes. I really need to replace the toner. Look at my toner just like skipped all the lines. I have another one that I printed out on printer paper when I was testing it, and the lines are there, but my toner, I think, is finally giving out on me. Was at least a good musical? I'm going to sharpen this one. It's a little off center, but again, $20 for 120 pencils. So off center, I'm not going to be like super upset, but let me sharpen it. So there's links to these pencils in the description, as well as Nightbot posts it every now and then, but just go to the description. I did put a link in there for them. At least I thought I did. Of course, my link is for Amazon US, just FYI on that one. Got a lot of browns, but that would be a good thing if you do like a lot of landscapes and whatnot. $106. These also go on sale. So, because when I snagged them, there was like a 20% off thing going. They may even go on sale tomorrow. Never know. It's hard to say because like these brands that aren't like made in America, you don't know if they're going to follow like our schedule when it comes to holiday sales. But if I see them go on sale, I'll try to pop it in my community tab. Got like a reddish brown. I just want them to bring back the Brutfuner squares. I am going to order a set off of Temu just to see if they're like the same. Because I'm curious. Since that's the only place you can get them right now. The squares at least. It's kind of, this one's like almost like a wine red, but I'm curious once it activates. There's more reds at the beginning of swatching too, like your brighter reds, like some carmines are up there. One that's pretty close to a true red as well was at the beginning. So we'll see. But these are like, we've got some reds and then reddish browns in here. You can get them on Temu, but again, I keep meaning to order them off there to see what the quality is and if they're like the original. I have one spare box left of my Brutfuner squares, which I'll never part with because I love those pencils, even though I rarely use them. I will never part with them. But I bought like a few spare boxes a while back when they were starting to like kind of go in and out of inventory. And I would snag them because they were always on sale. So that made it nice. But I only have one spare box left. Nice chocolatey color. All right, let's see how this one or this set activates. I swear the thing said it came with a brush, but I might have read that wrong. Not that it matters. I never use the brush that comes with these. I always just chuck those because it's usually like some crappy little nylon brush, but still. Came with a sharpener. And then I'll show you guys the swatch chart it comes with in just a little bit. Yeah, these are dissolving really nicely. Yeah, the Brutfuner squares were great. It was kind of a bummer. I mean, and they were really popular, so that the whole fact that they stopped selling them on Amazon US is kind of baffling to me. Now, granted, when you look these up, right, it says Brutfuner on the box, but the brand is not. So don't let that throw you off. And yes, I'm going out of the lines, but that's kind of what watercolor pencils are made for, so. All right, it looks like this next row of pencils is going to be kind of all over the place with their colors. Like I've got some random browns. I'll definitely have to put these in color family order later. Oops. Looks like this is black, but I saw some more browns, and then I did see some metallics, which is a bummer. I hate when companies waste space on metallic watercolor pencils. Just hate it. There's no point. They don't actually activate and look metallic. Such a waste of space of a pencil. There's actually a decent number of browns in here, and there's some more in this tray that I'm working on, including right here. If I had to guess, I'm going to say that this last tray is possibly, because yeah, I've got a random blue in here. These are possibly because they did this with their other sets. These are what you get. So if you get the 72 count set, you get all those other colors. And then as you add on, they kind of put the extras in their own trays. And that's why they're so like random and out of order. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's what happened here because we've got blues mixed in here. So these are basically what you would get or wouldn't have in the 72 count set. Now I've got like a gray. And I'll see if I can pull up their color chart later today now that I've swatched these and see the differences. That or they just really put in some random colors. Who knows? Okay. Oh, this is like a green. It's like a nice dark olivey green almost. I can say putting them